watching FixFlix, where we're all about DIY, reviews, and other car-related material. Welcome to the channel. We are pretty new in this community of car reviews and DIY, so please show your support if you find this information helpful. We would appreciate you hitting that like button and subscribing for more videos. In this video, we are going to show you how to hardwire a dash camera. Specifically, the one I'm going to hardwire is a DD-Pi 4K 5G Mini. It's pretty new, and we can make another video if you guys want to know more about it. Just leave it in the comments below and we can discuss this camera specifically more. But today's video is just how to hardwire any dash camera in general. So my manual that came with the hardwiring kit for the Mini 5 is another language I can't read, so that's garbage. The things you'll need to do your hardwire: you'll need a multimeter or voltage tester, you'll need some pliers or a fuse puller, whichever one you want to use. And then you'll need your hardwiring kit, depending on your dash camera, some piggyback fuse tabs, and some additional fuses. Before you buy your piggyback fuse tabs, make sure you're buying the right ones. So this is the ones I'm using in my car. That's the size, but you might be using a different one for your car. So check before you order which size you need. See, these are substantially bigger. So step one, you want to connect the correct fuse tabs to your hardwiring kit. Color match them. These already come with the right male and female connectors. You might have to use a crimping tool, depends on which hardwire kit you get. Just make them nice and tight. Put on some kind of protection over the wiring, and you're done. Okay, so the next step, you want to use your multimeter or voltage tester and your fuse guide to find out which fuses are going to be your ACC and VCC. What do I mean by that? Well, you have the two fuse tappers. One is listed as VCC, the yellow wire, and the other one is ACC. ACC stands for accessory, and it only has power when your ignition is on. So something like your AC blower will only have power when the ignition's on. The VCC is constant power that connects directly to your battery and will always have power even with your key out of the car. Right? So that's what we're going to do next. So step number two, you want to find your fuse box. In my Subaru, it's located on the left hand side from the steering wheel here on the bottom. So you remove the cover, and here we have our fuse guide and our fuses. Okay, so I'm using my multimeter, the black cable or the ground, right? We're putting on any bolt or anything that's, the part of the frame of the car. And on the other side, we're gonna go through each fuse and look for the VCC or constant power fuse. So now I'm touching one of the fuses, and we're reading 13 volts DC. It means which has power even though our ignition is off. So next, we also want to find our ACC wire or accessory wire or fuse. So we're gonna go to I'm getting voltage here, other fuses, and see which one we don't have power. So this one right here, I'm touching and it doesn't have power. So I'm going to turn on the ignition and see if that changes, just to make sure. Okay, so now with the ignition on, again, one part of the multimeter, one side goes to ground or any part of your frame of the car or any bolt, and we're going to retest the same fuse to make sure we're getting power now that the ignition is on. So now, I think that was 15 volts, right? With the alternator running, you're gonna have a little bit more voltage than usual, right? Because we're charging. So now we're getting 15 volts. So we know we can use this fuse as the ACC, and then this fuse here, which still has power with the ignition running, as the VCC. So now that we know which fuses we're using, the first thing I'm gonna do actually is connect the ground, the black wire, to one of the bolts here that I already have grounded for another piece of equipment that I'm using in the car. Okay, so we have our ground wire in, the black wire, and now we're gonna attach our fuse tabs into the actual fuses that we've determined we're gonna use for ACC and VCC. So you want to remove your VCC constant power fuse, which I've determined to be this one. Then you want to insert the fuse you removed into the bottom. If you're looking at the fuse tapper this way, this is the bottom, this is the top. So you're going to insert the one you removed from the original accessory in your car here, and then the one you have additional, you're going to put on the top. that's going to feed our dash camera or protect our dash camera. And you'll want to make sure that the fuse that you're using on the top is of equal value as the one that you're tapping into, or less than the value you're tapping into. Another thing that you want to know before you insert your fuse tapper into your fuse slot is that there are a positive side and a negative side, and depending on your vehicle it could be different, right? So the positive could be on top or it could be on the bottom, and you want to determine that using your multimeter, right? So since this is the constant power supply, you want to turn off your ignition and test with your multimeter to see which slot is actually getting power with the ignition off, right? Because only one side, the power's coming in on one side, it's coming out the other. So you're going to determine that using your multimeter. Okay, so using our multimeter, I'm going to determine which one is positive and negative. The bottom terminal of that fuse slot has 0 volts, and the top has 15 volts. So that means the top is the positive and the bottom is the negative. So now I'm going to connect my fuse tapper the appropriate way, because the fuse tapper, looking at it this way, the side that's furthest away from the wire, or this terminal here, is the positive and this one's the negative. So that's how we're going to connect it: positive to positive, negative to negative. There we go. So now we have our fuse tapper for the constant power supply in. So you want to repeat the same process for your ACC fuse that you've determined. So we're going to remove our ACC fuse that I've determined to be this one right here. We're going to insert into our fuse tapper additional fuse, test it with the multimeter to determine positive, negative, and do the same thing. So I'm doing the same thing for the ACC fuse. Just making sure that the top terminal here as well has voltage, the bottom one does not. So I've inserted my fuses, connecting positive to positive. And then we're finished. We have both of our fuses in, and now all it takes is to run our hardwiring wires to the dash camera. Okay, so after you have your fuses connected, you want to make sure that everything works. So connect the other side of the wire to your dash camera. So right now my light is blue, that means it's normal recording according to the user manual, and my ignition is running, right? So my car is on. So if I turn off my car, take out the key, let's say I'm leaving the car, now we have a red light and some noise that indicates that we went into parking mode. So everything's working properly. Okay, and then what you want to do last is run your wiring through your A-pillar, through your headliner, tuck it away nice and neatly to the area where you're going to mount your dash camera, and then you're finished. Okay, so let's discuss some troubleshooting or some issues that you might encounter. So let's say that your parking mode is coming on with your ignition on. So your car's running and you're in parking mode. Should not be the case. So what you would want to look in is to your ACC wire, or the red wire we did here. You want to make sure that your connection here is good, that you've connected the fuses correctly. You want to make sure that the positive is on the positive. If you can change the orientation and maybe you got that wrong, and see if that's working. Another issue you might have is that your camera is not coming on at all. That means you might have a power connection issue with your VCC wire, constant power wire. So make sure, again, your connections are tight. Make sure that you're fully grounded to the frame of the car, and recheck your fuses, recheck your connections. And the last thing you might encounter, let's say you have everything done correctly and your parking mode still does not come on. In that case, you want to go to your dash camera settings and make sure that you have your parking mode enabled. Right? Sometimes you'll have done everything correctly, but that's disabled in the settings, so it won't come on. So yeah, go into the settings, read your user manual on how to go into the settings and how to enter parking mode. So I've connected my dash camera behind my rear view mirror. You can't even tell it's there. I've used this plastic trim to hide the wire, and there's a stock wire there for the dimming rear view mirror. And dash camera is recording in parking mode. The wire goes along the headliner. You can't even see. Everything looks fresh and stock. And it goes down the A-pillar, comes down, and then to our fuse box, like we put in our fuse tabs there. And that's it. Nice and neat. So that concludes our videos, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions on the install process, let me know in the comments below and I'll answer all of your questions. We are pretty new in the YouTube community, so if you can show your support by subscribing and giving us the thumbs up, we greatly appreciate it. If you have any ideas about what you wanted to see in the video, or maybe something I've missed, please let me know, and I'll be happy to get back to you. And if you have any video ideas, again, let me know, and we can make future videos that have something to do with what you wanted to see and that you did not find in this video. Thank you so much, and take care.